Burma's fragile reform process stumbled this week when pro-democracy leader Aung San Suu Kyi and other new opposition MPs refused to take the parliamentary oath. Elected in historic by-elections 3 weeks ago, the MPs are objecting to taking an oath to safeguard what they believe is a flawed constitution. The stalemate has delayed another history-making moment, their first day in Parliament. Southeast Asia correspondent Zoe Daniel reports.
When Aung San Suu Kyi and 42 other members won their seats in by-elections 3 weeks ago, there was joy on the streets of Burma. But while the National League for Democracy won almost 10% of seats in Parliament's lower house, 80% of the Parliament remains controlled by the military and the ruling party. And the stoush over the wording of the parliamentary oath is a sign of things to come as the opposition tries to push through constitutional reforms to reduce the military's influence. I spoke to Koko Hlang, Chief Advisor to the President. Koko Hlang, thank you very much for joining us. Can you tell me whether the government plans to negotiate with the NLD over the changing of the parliamentary oath?
Yeah, this will be the first time NLD have to attend the parliament, and I think there will be more cooperations and collaborations between NLD and the government, especially Pituloto or parliaments. There may be some teething problems.
How seriously should observers be taking this stalemate that seems to be happening at the moment? I mean, how easy is this going to be to resolve?
Actually, I don't see any big problems because these two groups, the NLD and the ruling party, the majority party, they have the same objectives to make the best interests of the countries. So I don't see many or much or bigger problems.
And yet it's such a small thing, just the changing of one word, and it does seem to have created a stumbling block at least.
Of course. There are actually there's a minor things, or in my opinion, just for the words. So actually it is a difference of opinion, not the conflict of interest. So it can be negotiable. So I don't think it's a much problem for us.
And what if the Parliament votes against changing the oath and the NLD still won't attend? What do you do then?
I don't see. Actually, it's a problems on words, not the deeds. I don't think that the parliaments will stick stubbornly on these issues.
Clearly the opposition's agenda, for example, is to remove the military quota in the Parliament, currently reserved for 25% military members, and that's their big problem with the Constitution. So when they come to start pushing that reform, I mean, is everything just going to stop because you're going to have two sides with fundamentally opposing views?
Yeah, there may be some very big difference of opinion between that kind of issues, but we need to consider about the socio-economic and political situations of the country. So, as you know, that we still have armed conflict with ethnic minorities group, and we are still going a peace process with many of them. Some are quite successful, some are encouraging, some are still far behind from others' experience. So security is one of our priority, still one of the national priorities. So that's why the military representations and parliaments is still necessary, especially from the perspective of the military. So yes.
Others would argue the reverse, that taking them out of the parliament might solve the problem.
Of course. So there may be some different opinions and a different perspective, but we have to negotiate that. And I think that this is not the right time to, directly to revoke all the military representations from the parliaments.
We've seen some substantial movement on sanctions. The US, Australia have eased sanctions, and now the EU has suspended most sanctions. Do you see that as a direct reward for the by-elections?
Yes, maybe from the perspective of the international monitoring bodies and also international media, there's some kind of the success in our democratization process.
Does that take away some incentive for reform, though? The more that sanctions are loosened, is there less incentive for more reforms to be pushed through?
Yeah, from my opinions, we have very strong and firm determinations for our democratic reforms. So actually this was because of our people's desires and also political will from the political leadership. And everybody's in our countries, we like to see great changes. So actually what we need is that encouragement from our international communities, also and assistance, technical assistance, financial assistance, and any kinds of assistance we need. But we don't need any pressure or any restrictions anymore. We don't need stick or whip anymore.
The fact that the sanctions from the EU have been suspended rather than being lifted altogether, how do you read that? I mean, they don't trust you, right? They're leaving open the option of re-implementing them.
Of course, actually, it is quite natural that the first step is to build mutual trust. And
is that building, do you think?
Yes, now we are trying to build the mutual trust between the international community and our government, and we are trying our best in the political reforms, not because of the international pressure, but for the sake of our people.
Dr. Klang, thank you very much for your time.
Yes, you're welcome.